Chief Business Officer at Gates.
In 2007, 2008, there was obviously a global financial crisis. You were in Hong Kong. What was happening at the time?
We see banks just like disappear.
When it comes to exchanges, obviously every coin that's launching kind of wants to be listed.
There were a time where a project want to get listed, especially at good tier 1 exchange like us. The reasons being that would give the project kind of like a proof of legitimacy. It's just like, oh, we are good mainstream project now. You don't have a proper utility, you don't have a proper revenue streams, and people can see through it pretty easily. And then getting listed might actually be your top signal that keep us outside of the jail. So I think that's a good trade-off.
Yeah, safety first.
We have all the cryptocurrency available in Hong Kong Stock Exchange. I'll be like, good job, right? But also what we're trying to do is like, we're gonna use the new tech and bring all the instruments here, and we can trade it so efficient. We can trade 24/7. We can provide liquidity. We can provide leverage, cross collaterals between crypto and other asset class. That's amazing.
Today we have Kevin Lee, the CBO of Gate, joining us on the podcast. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, Tanya, thank you for having me.
Should we get started with some introductions?
Sure, yeah. For those who don't know me, my name is Kevin. I'm the Chief Business Officer at Gates. It's been around 3 years now at Gates, which for those of you heard about us, we are a global crypto exchange. Been around for like 13 years already, which in crypto terms, that's feel like eternity. Before that, I also work I'm based in Hong Kong. I also work in another regulated crypto exchange before I jumped into Gates. And before that, again, it felt like a long time ago. It felt like my previous life. I've been in bankings for 15 years across Macquarie Banks, JP Morgan, and BNP Paribas. So yeah, cryptos, not a stranger to a lot of people, but again, we always have to remind ourselves that every day we have new users, new people, new investors coming into the space. So it's always good to, keep everyone grounded and, like present everything in a conversation in the plain language, plain English as much as possible.
No, absolutely. I think, that's the only way to get more and more people to join this space as well. So, coming from your previous life, where you were working in TradFi, how did you get into crypto? What introduced you to the space, and what was that moment where you were like, oh, I really want to get into this space?
Wow, that's a twofold questions. First, it start really early days when I was backpacking. It's more than 10 years ago, actually. I think it's around 2013, where I was backpacking in Australia. Then Bitcoin, I just like caught my eye. It was at the all-time high back then. It was $140. I bought some. It's just like a backpacker things to do. And then it dropped to $90. I thought as a scam. I forgot about it. And then until 2017, Bitcoin, I think everyone knows, it reached 20,000 for the first time. I was like, oh my God, where are my Bitcoins? Obviously, like I upgrade my mobile phones already. So I lost my 2FAs. I forgot about my password. So I jumped through all the hoops and I finally got it back. So that's how I felt like, oh my God, this is probably the best return, not probably, certainly the best return of any investment I have in my life. And now I start looking into it. 2017-18 was also the time where Ethereum and back then the like of Bitcoin Cash was like starting to pop up. And as a trader myself, back then I start to do like some automated algorithmic trading, make money and get myself closer to the industry. But when I said that this question is twofold because I haven't actually pivoted my career until like 5 years ago. That was the time when Hong Kong actually starting to put together a regulatory framework. When I was in banking, I was a trader. I always from the regulated side of things, and I do know the regulators in Hong Kong that whenever they put down some regulations, there will be no U-turn. There will not be a change 180 degrees, and that's what I thought back then. Is like, look, the price of the market may go up and down, but the industry as a whole would not like disappear. And I guess I was right. Like the price did go up and down for a few times already, last 5 years, but the industry as a whole has been growing bigger and bigger. I don't think in any time in the future it's going to disappear. So that's why I pivot my career from banking now to crypto.
Okay, interesting. And obviously, when you're in banking or you were a trader, the skill sets that are required to be a trader are very unique in a way. So, how do you think, of the difference in the skill sets that you need to be a successful trader versus a successful business leader in crypto?
Yeah, very good questions. Like, okay, in banks, in trading, I think a lot of people coming from a very similar background, all the way from university to like their working experience, etc. And we talk similar language, we have similar mindset. In a way, that's really easy to communicate with each other. We kind of like understand each other quite uh, easily. But going into crypto, you get to meet like all different sorts of people, from really technical people, from like really, really beginner levels people, from like influencer to like actual like hardcore like market makers and hedge funds as well. So it's you have to learn to deal with like a lot of different people, and like sometimes you may have to explain a little more about like how the market actually works, which is like, again, this is like a humbling experience for me as well, because if you look at the flip side, in traditional finance you don't get to learn a lot of things over the years. I always joke about with my old friends, they still in banks. They were trading HSBC and Tencent and Alibaba 10 years ago. They probably still trade the same stocks today and probably the same stocks 10 years later. They not certainly there are like a progression and like an improvement in the whole ecosystem, but not as big as we see and not as quick as we see in the crypto market. So like I would say every 3 months, every 6 months, I have to reinvent myself like to learn something new in this market. So I guess that's like you can see like how much of a difference from the old world to the new world now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important to constantly. I mean, in crypto, you have to, right? Otherwise, you just you
Exactly.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also I know trading is like a very, very high pressure job because you have to constantly or consistently produce results. So, was there anything about, in a way, like human nature under pressure that you learned in trading that you feel like a lot of people in crypto have no idea?
I get that. Yeah. So in trading, I guess I would say again I always sound really old and don't do the math, for whoever audience that's like watching this. I've been through a lot of crises in traditional finance, right? The biggest one is probably during like '07, '08, when there's like subprime and global financial crisis. And to me, that was the biggest stress for myself and for a lot of people around me, that they may lose their job and life saving, etc., etc. Um, and when we're talking to other people in crypto, they invest a lot. They make a lot of money, but they lost a lot of money as well. But by the end of the day, I still don't see that like magnitude of like crisis that actually happened in crypto compared to what happened in 2007, because crypto, as much as we like it and as much as it's been mature in the last like 5-10 years, is still like only a fraction of the whole global economy. And whatever happened, whatever like we see the price going up and down right now, it doesn't actually affect that much of like a layperson's life. Um, but we've seen worse before. So that kind of prepared me in a really absurd way, that I can see cycles and I can see all these dips and ramps with a more like neutral mindset. I don't get into like really emotional when we see the price swing, which is kind of like a good thing. I think when the market's like inherently so volatile in our space, but also you see people that going into leverage into like 5, 10, 20, 50 times leverage, then it's like it's exponentially being more stressful, right? And for me, it's just like I've seen bad things happen. I know how to manage my risk, and more importantly, manage my mentality. So like, if you see that's being too risky and too volatile, maybe just not participate. So I guess that's how you deal with it.
So interesting. So, what was the experience like for you? You know, in 2007, 2008, there was obviously a global financial crisis. You were in Hong Kong. What was happening at the time?
It was a really really bad time. As in, again, a lot of people it's just like may not be I don't know, may not be even born, right?
Yeah.
But like probably maybe too young to remember. It was the time where I would like firsthand experience. It's like I would be talking to some colleagues in the morning, and in the afternoon they would be gone, and then the next day you will hear about like friends, because like in Hong Kong, right, everyone's either is a bankers or like an accountant or like a lawyer. So like every other day you hear people that lost their job, which is not a good feeling, because like this affect like everyone's around you, but at the same time it's you might have to build up that expectation that you it might happen to you or it may not happen to you. So I'm being very fortunate I didn't get into any layoff, but the whole atmosphere and it's linger on for like years. And we see banks just like disappear like after the crisis, and that's like how much of a magnitude that it was. And I don't know, like maybe it like it's also built up the expectation that the cycles always come around. So like when you see a bull market, you being like you ground yourself in a way that you don't think the bull market's going to be going on forever. You have to expect the next markets being maybe a little bit worse from the last bear market. So always get yourself prepared is what happened like from 20 years ago, and I'm still learning that lessons now.
Yeah. So, say the 2008, 2009 financial, 2007, 2008 financial crisis was like a 9 on a scale of how bad it was. How bad would you say was the 2022, FTX, Terra Luna, like on that
Oh yeah,
scale?
I think in terms of like scale and like people getting affected, um, in crypto, I would say that's the closest thing to the global financial crisis, but within the crypto industry. And the thing is, what happened in 2022 was a lot of people are not actually being risky. They were just trying to hold the stable coins in form of a very unfortunate like UST, which is like some crazy stuff like with Luna, and actually is not that stable, or they are actually going into proper like stable coin like USDT or USDC, but put into the wrong platforms that go bankrupt. So like it affects people in a way that these are not the risk taker. If they're risk taker, you would be like, oh yeah, that's on you, right? You're not managing your risk properly. If you lose, that's fair game. But I don't think that was a fair game for a lot of people back then. So I think that hurt a little more when that actually happened. And of course, like the market in general, it was pretty bad as well. Like there are laid off in a lot of platforms, and again, that's affect a lot of friends in the industry as well. So yeah, but hopefully that's how we learn the lessons, and we being a little bit more conservative when we going to the upcycle. And in terms of like the firm, you don't hire as aggressively as we would have been, then we are be like better positioned for like whatever market's coming next.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think also, with all of these different platforms, a lot of times I feel like, people in crypto are very young. So it's not like they have a lot of experience, but again, they're building all these products. So, say you have an 18-year-old that's building an exchange for, traders to come and, trade different tokens. But do you think there's a mistake that you see non-traders repeatedly make when they're trying to build products for traders in crypto?
Um, it would be a lot. That's honestly very specifically for long trader, but like also like generically for new users. Again, we were estimating there will be 200,000 to 250,000 new users every day in our space. They may be buying their first like bitcoins. They may be buying the first like NFT. Yeah, maybe not this year. Like no one's buying NFTs anyway. But they have to learn from like all kind of mistake, right? They like forgot about their sit phase. They lost they got hacked. They got rug pull. These are not even like trading related. This is just like the industry being so young and like so like full and prone of scam. That's very unfortunate if you have to learn the hard way. But for long trader specifically, I would say it's like how you manage your risk. Um, and like people are like really enjoy talking about like, oh, you have to hold it, you just have to have diamond hands. But you're not like actually this is like just a belief, right? This is almost like a code. You're not actually actively managing your risk. Are you like buying and selling? Are you long and short so that you're more market neutral even though you have like some belief into a particular cons, right? You don't want when the cons goes up and down, you want it to be like more or less going market neutral for your portfolio. At the same time, what about diversifications, right? We talk about the like of Marcus Taylor, Tom Lee, they just go all in on Bitcoins, all in on Ethereum. That may work for them and good for them, but as an individual, that may not work the best for you. So that's like more like a belief that if you are a trader, you know how to stop loss, you know how to diversify, you know how to hedge your risk. It's feel like a second instinct for me, for a lot of traders, but not for like non-traders coming into this space and try investing.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then I think one more thing, particularly when it comes to exchanges, obviously every coin that's launching kind of wants to be listed, and one of the reasons is liquidity. Um, But, is there anything that people actually misunderstand about how liquidity actually is formed? Or is there anything around the topic of liquidity that people generally misunderstand in your
Yeah,
experience?
I wouldn't pin it on like some particular coins, but like let's just look at like Bitcoin for example, right? Um, the thing with a general exchange, like for our audience, maybe let's talk about like HSBC. You can trade HSBC in Hong Kong, in London, and maybe ADR in the US. That's the only three venue that you can trade HSBC, and you see the liquidity there, that's probably the whole liquidity. Now, in crypto, like every exchange is almost like fungible, like Bitcoin's USDT pair in our exchange and other exchange and also decentralized exchange, they are all the same. And how that liquidity pops up, it's with the help of market makers. So market makers, we do have market makers in traditional finance, obviously, but market makers play a bigger role in our industry because like they are the one that keep track of like all this different price discrepancy and trying to make money out of it. Now, what happened to like an individual retail trader when a user look at the liquidity? That would happen that a lot of them actually from market maker. I'm not saying they're not real, but they are reacting to everything across all the exchange. Otherwise, they will lose money, right? Because other market maker, better market maker will make will make money from this bad market maker. So they all reactive. So if there's like something that happened, and like someone like selling a lot of bitcoins from another exchange, you will see a lot of liquidity in this exchange, but then all the market maker may react to that, and everyone will just drop the price together without any volume going through, or with really, really little volume going through. So it's there, but it's not actually there. So like the effective liquidity is really like debatable, like how much you can actually absorb as a market. You see, if you add up all this like bid depth across the exchange, and you're trying to sell it, it may not actually happen if you just like sell it on a single exchange. All other bids would have been gone. So like this is something that's like, like we just like spent like 5 minutes trying to like explain this, but like what if you just want to talk to a long trader at a very casual conversation at a crypto conference? It may be really hard and really difficult to grow through their mind.
No, absolutely. Actually, even I didn't know about this, and I've been in this space for a while now. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't know this. So it's very interesting to kind of hear. And so what kind of advice would you give to projects in terms of, because I know with every project they just, I think I worked with a lot of projects, and what they want is they just want to get listed on every exchange possible. What kind of advice would you give to founders, who just want to get listed everywhere, and that's their singular goal, or like, that one track?
Yeah, I would very much like that era, that period of time. People just looking to get listed, would have passed us already. I think that there were a time where like a project would want to get listed, especially at like good tier one exchange like us. The reasons being that would give the project kind of like a proof of legitimacy, right? It's just like, oh, we are a good mainstream project now that we are able and eligible to get listed at Gate. Um, Now, I think that the markets pass through that phase, and a lot of time, if you don't have like a proper utility, you don't have a proper revenue streams, and people can see through it pretty easily, and then getting listed would might actually be your top signal. Like a lot of projects this day would just like get listed and people start shorting it. Now, these are the lessons that I want to give it to like all the founders and project developers. Build a good project. As an exchange, we are a venue for buyer and seller. We facilitate them to buy and sell, to bring your value into a fair price, reflective to your project's value. We not like automatically make your project good and your tokens 10x. I think that time's gone. Now, if your project is not good, and or shit, like whatever, pardon my French, if it's shit, then as an exchange, we will facilitate buyer and seller. And because the market like this day is so efficient, they may actually bring you down to the effective, like the actual values, which may be not going up or down. So I do believe that a lot of like modern day founders, they kind of like recognize this and become more like a traditional web 2, or like a more like traditional like company. They're looking into revenue streams, they're looking at like a proper use case, user acquisitions, even going into the private equities market before getting listed. So I think that's a good trend. And when your market, when your products mature, then getting listed will actually unlock your value, which will in turn be a good thing.
No, absolutely. I think, and it's better for the industry if those days are behind us.
Exactly.
I think it's better to have a legitimate project, something that works, something that people actually want to use. But from a more exchange kind of a perspective, because you are obviously a C suite at one of the biggest exchanges in the world and one of the longest standing exchanges in the world, what are some of the biggest problems that you think about and, things that keep you up at night in this moment?
Um, that's really good questions. Okay, so we're looking at like two different things, and also that's come from my background as well. In a traditional stock market, that's open 5 days a week, maybe from like 8:30 till 4. Um, Not a big deal, right? If Okay, it is a big deal if the market if the exchange going down, yes. But if we think about like crypto exchange and crypto exchange being such a big integral part of the whole ecosystem, and you're running the exchange 24/7 for like whole year, there's no holiday, no break for all the coin that you listed, that is a big challenge. And I cannot give enough credits to our like tech team to make sure that like everything works behind the scenes. And not only about the trading part as an exchange, we also custody client access as well. And that also you face like threats and people like trying to hack and attack your exchange. Again, 24/7. Like hacker doesn't sleep. Like they just like they run the program and try to hack you like 24/7 every day. And you don't have like a second chance, right? If you get hacked, the whole thing may just like blow up. So like that's something that I have to always bear in mind is like every single minute is on. There's like no off switch for an exchange. Um, the other thing, which is like closely related to that, is not the time, but like the sheer number of like users and people that we facing and we serving. We are now having just about I think 48 million users
Uh,
now. Yeah, that's a lot. Now that's a lot, but also we have to think about first again, just as my point previously, there may be a lot of new users. They may be lone traders. They don't know like what they're doing, and and to think about, if you have for every single day you have, let's say, 0.5%. I just make it up. I don't have to figure on my hand. 0.5%, when they have like some problem, like deposit crypto, withdrawing cryptos, hit some errors when they're using the mobile app. That's a lot of people. 0.5%. And if our customer service is not resolving them on time, they will go onto Twitter and complain. And let's say like is it like 0.5% of that 0.5%? That's still a lot of people complaining on Twitter. So like if you think about the scale that you have to like really reactive to like every single problem within the platforms, as as a footnote to that as well, all this like 48 like million users, they are not the same. They might want something very completely different from your platforms. Like some of them may want to trade spot, some of them may want to go like contract and go like 100 time leverage. Some actually just want to use your Web3 wallet. They don't want to use your exchange. They want to use our Gates Pay, Gates Card. We even have like a charity arms. As you said, like different projects coming to us and want to get listed. We even now, what else? Like NFT. I joke about NFT. We launched like a digital collectibles with reparation last year. There were still like more than 480,000 people actually claim the reparation NFTs. That's
wow.
amazing. That's not a lot of people, but like in the NFT space, that's pretty good given the environment right now. But at the same time, you kind of feel that okay, it's not like all 48 million users will want that NFT, but keeping the NFT space open, like a it's like a crypto supermarket. You go in, you get different kind of like product and service that you have. I think that's important, and you have to have that mindset always.
No, absolutely. Actually, I think the scale of it is just insane because exchanges are so central to crypto in general, and just the scale that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Um, but behind the scenes, with exchanges, are there any kind of strategic trade-offs that you have to make, or something very difficult, like kind of a very difficult decision that you have to make on a day-to-day basis that most users will probably never know?
Like my sleep time. uh, yeah, there are certainly some trade-off. How do we put it? I would say, well, okay, that's one good example, right? That's like really highly related to what we mentioned, but also pivot a little bit more to the regulated space as well, which is like something that I'm more into. Um, I, like again, 48 million users and 0.5% of the 0.5% will complain. Sure, right? A lot of the complaint usually they would come from like, okay, whatever their trading patterns or like their withdrawal or deposit patterns actually, or like when we do what we call KYT, know your transactions, where we trace back on chain to see if the crypto that you deposit to our exchange is legitimate or not. This is to do with the AML, the anti money laundering. That's we have regulations around the world. So whenever a risk control being triggered and the user account being temporarily suspended for investigations, people start complaining, right? But that's something we would have to do. We will have to do because we have to comply with, whatever the regulatory requirements that have. Versus, I like when I see this complaint, usually I will get a comparison to some other exchange and say, look, I never actually got any triggers for like risk control. I never got my like account suspended in a certain exchange. Then I'll be like, look, then there may be something wrong with that exchange because they are not doing a good job with AML and KYC. I'm actually happy you say it that way because like we are doing our job. By the end of the day, if your money is clean and clear, we will resume the account. Usually no problem, and usually without actual proper thank you on like Twitter, but it's fine. But at the back, we know it's a trade off that we will have to do, and you don't get to have the appreciation from the users because they are at the this stick end of sorry yeah, it's just like they don't see the whole picture, and I get it. So unfortunately, but also that keep us outside of the jail. So I think that's a good trade-off.
Yeah, safety first. uh, but also in terms of, obviously, I'm sure with any exchange, you obviously are a business and you want to generate revenue. So how do you kind of see that, I guess in a way also a trade-off between short-term revenue growth versus building long-term trust, um, especially in an industry like crypto, which constantly is getting burned again and again?
Yeah. Okay. So the reference is important, and the space is actually pretty tight, especially for a centralized exchange. I will have to admit, um, but at the same time, I think it's really key to. I think back in my banking days, we would have to annually, for people who don't know, like we would have to do a lot of training, right? One of the thing is like code of conduct, like how do you conduct your business? And I usually I was like I ace it, but I would just like it is really easy, but it just like boiled down to like just 3 points. Always act as the best interest of your clients, always act as the best interest of your firm, and then keep everyone out of the jail. That's it. So yeah, so it's easy to say to actually do it, but I think when we think about revenues, we always come back to this basic principle. We are not ripping off users just to get a few more cents, because that doesn't make sense. And despite like how we say we've been around for 13 years, which is really long, but like compared to banks, compared to like even like all the Web2 company, we're still really young, and you still have to build up that reputation. JP Morgan's been around for like 70, 80 years. We are just like less than one fifth of like what like how much they've been around. So we still have to build a reputation, and you are just looking for the short term gain from the users for a few cents. That would not work for long term, and you will be so easily being just discard, cancel from the industry. If you do that. So I guess that's something we always have it in mind.
Yeah, that's good to know. So my money is safe, you know.
Yeah.
But so knowing everything that you know now, you were a trader, now you're the CBO at an exchange. If you had to design your own exchange, is there any feature that you would in particular include or not include? Like, is there any one specific feature that you think is so important that
Currency being a new asset class is like a new financial instrument that you can invest. So sure, like Bitcoin go up and down, etc. But it doesn't matter the infrastructure, right? So like you can trade in a centralized exchange, you can trade on a decentralized exchange, you can trade as an ETF in like New York Stock Exchange or like now in Hong Kong Exchange. Doesn't matter. But if you look at the other thing is like we have blockchain as a technology. It's not about the investment instruments anymore. This technology help us to build something beautiful that can trade everything, including we were talking about like stable coins, like basically you trading USD, US dollar. But now we have like all this like RWA and TradFi like conversation. We'll be able to trade stocks, commodities, gold and silver. Obviously, that's the hot topics. We'll be able to trade index and FX. Um, so that's actually a good thing because like that not necessarily make Bitcoins going higher because that's nothing to do with Bitcoin. It's just like the blockchain technology be able to trade the all asset class. But as someone like myself coming from traditional finance, what I want to see is like I want to see the market being more efficient. Um, and it doesn't matter what kind of technology that we bringing on. You can do it in all the old way, and we have all the cryptocurrency available in Hong Kong Stock Exchange. I'll be like, good job, right? You've done a good job with the old tech. But also, what we're trying to do is like we're gonna use the new tech and bring all the old instruments here, and we can trade it so efficient. We can trade 24/7. We can provide liquidity. We can provide leverage, cross like collaterals between crypto and other asset class. That's amazing. That's like something I thought about it. I never actually think that would come so early, but it came. It's here. So yeah, I may have to have another thought about like what actually I want next. Then maybe we'll see it later this year.
No, absolutely. And my last question is, what are you particularly excited for 2026 in the crypto space? I feel like I have my answer already, but if there's anything else.
I coming from like a background where I like to program. I was a software engineer, and I'm in trading as well. So I hate the phase vibe coding. Um, but I start vibe coding now. I just ask Claude Cook to code for me. And I have the idea of like what kind of trading strategies that I want to do. I want to see how far it can go without I actually touching. Obviously, I will have to debug, and I'll see. I have to tell AI what are you doing wrong. What the hell that you're trying to do it this way? So it actually take up some of my time, but it's good because like that's something I want to catch up, and I want to use it in like a proper like a business use case that I can build something within my spare time that I don't have to look. I'll just like tell it to do something. I'll go back, watch my YouTube, and then I'll come back in 2 hours later. Same with, I think they changed the name a few times. Like by the times this came out, it should be OpenClaw, the automated like AI assistant, whatever you call it. I've been playing around. I don't know what else like it can do for me, but I set it up with the anticipation that this will come closer to us sooner than we expected. So like maybe I can integrate it into something that will be trading or exchange or crypto related. I don't know yet. I'm still like trying to make it being more useful, except like just burning my like ChatGPT tokens. But these are the things that always get me excited, and it's like along the same narrative as like there are new things coming in. Crypto may not be the new things anymore. It's getting more and more mature. So AI may be the thing that bring in new fuel to the whole industry and try to bring up to the next stage.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for AI as well. I think in the last year, I've just been working on one problem, which was AI agent to agent payments.
Yep.
And yeah, so I think I'm very excited to see. And I've been addicted to the mold book kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. So I love that. But yeah, I think those are all the questions I had. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Tanya. It's like really nice checking up with you today.
Thank you for listening to Off the Record. If you like this episode, like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps the podcast grow. You can find more episodes wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.